Hi everyone. Today's practice will focus on standing poses and a good clean sweep through most of the standing poses, not all of them. Standing poses are great postures for learning how to build strength, and they're generally quite integrative. So I always think of when you have the wet batter and the dry batter and you're going to make a cake and you mix them together. Standing poses have this quality. They really integrate us with ourselves, and they bring all parts on board, all hands on deck, so to speak, and make ourselves work with ourselves. They do demand strength and mental presence, but the idea is not depletion or overexertion, but rather to exert in a way that does not deplete, and rather to exert in a way that actually helps us to build a sense of energy and internal resilience. So may we experience that, and let's get started with standing on our own 2 feet in Tadasana, mountain pose. So come to your mat standing, and you can have your feet right together so the feet are touching, or if it helps you feel more stable, you can also have the feet about hip width apart. See what you prefer. Just for a sec, lift the toes of the right foot and stretch the toes forward away from the arch of the foot and set the toes back down. Lift the toes and ball of the left foot, and again, propel. Send the energy forward toward the tips of the toes. Lift the right heel and send the heel back. And lift the left heel and send the heel back. And then arms long at your sides. Engage the musculature around the knees, so the knees are lifted and not dropped. Bring the whole area around the abdomen slightly into the body, and inside the body, lift that energy up toward the chest. Arms long. Bring the pit of the throat slightly back and in. Let your eyes close just for a moment. Take a couple breaths and use the breath to help yourself feel. Use the breath to help subdue some of the inner dialogue, some of the verbal mental activity, so that you can arrive at a place that feels not just ready for practice, but receptive and ready to learn from the practice. And then keep that quality and open the eyes. And then interlace your hands behind your head and swing the elbows a little bit forward, so they're sort of like blinders on a horse. Draw the bicep muscle toward the shoulder and send the tricep toward the elbow tip. And just with the hands behind the head, very gently snug your head back into the hands so you've made a support. And when you do that, let the weight come a little bit more into the heels, the inner heels, navel back, pit of the throat back. Very top of the thigh bone closest to the pelvis snugs in. And from the arch of the foot, propel toward the tips of the toes. And from here, Urdhva Asasana. Keep all the actions, all those quiet alignments, and just straighten the arms up overhead. Arms can be quite wide if that is helpful for you, particularly if it's challenging to straighten the arms. Let them be wider so you get more access to straightness. And as it's available, you can bring the arms closer, still keeping that memory of the interlaced hands behind the head so the head doesn't lurch forward. Bring the lower sternum slightly back. And then keeping that reach, just extend the arms out wide. Turn the palms down and come again into Tadasana. And we'll do Vrikshasana, tree pose. So standing on your left leg, turn the right toes out. One of the things that happens right away here for a lot of bodies is the hips start to shift like the David sculpture. So instead, you're going to take that outer hip and squeeze it in and keep some weight down into the inner heel on that left foot. First phase is with the right heel on your ankle. Next, you can bring the foot to your calf or your knee. And if you can, and feel steady, bring the foot all the way to the groin. Press the heel into the inseam and squeeze the outer hip into the heel. Bring the hands together at the heart so the thumbs are touching the sternum. Interlace the hands behind the head, swing the elbows forward. Biceps down toward the shoulders, triceps toward the elbow tips. So you can push your head just slightly back. Navel in, pit of the throat back. And then Urdhva Astasana, extend the arms up. And then bring the arms down, release the leg. Switching sides, standing on the right leg, turn the left toes out. You can, again, stay here with the tippy toes on the ground. That's great if you're feeling balance apprehensive. You can bring the foot a little higher. Obviously, we have to work with the reality of what our body will allow us to work with without aggression or denial. Bring the hands to the hip, to the heart. Squeeze this outer hip in toward the heel and press the heel into the inseam so it's a really solid contact, not a sort of wavering or wishy-washy contact. Hands behind the head, swing the elbows forward. Pit of the throat back, navel back. So there's a solidification. And then extend the arms up straight overhead, Urdhva Astasana. Biceps toward the shoulders, triceps toward the fingertips. And then release the arms and release the leg. And be in Tadasana. And then we'll do Utkatasana. And you have a couple choices with the arms depending on how that arm overhead action is for you. I'll have you start with the arms behind your head and then extend the arms up. So if you prefer, you can keep the hands here. This is a good way to take some of the pressure out of the neck and shoulder area if that's more of a depletion and it's not adding energy. If it's just sapping energy from the pose, bring your hands back here so you can build energy and not lose energy through your practice. So from standing, raise the arms back behind your head like we did before. Swing the elbows a little bit forward. Biceps toward the shoulders, triceps toward the elbows. Pit of the throat in, navel in. Take a full breath in and then exhale and bend the knees. And keep just gently affirming your head back into your hands as you move the knees forward and the hips back. Energize from the arches of the feet toward the tips of the toes to help secure the shins back into the body. Navel in. And then you can stay here or extend the arms overhead. Again, we're looking to meet the challenge of this pose where we rise to the occasion and we exert, but we are teaching ourselves to exert without depletion. So exertion does not imply fatigue. Exertion can be, in fact, replenishing. Push through the feet and rise up. And then dive forward and come to Uttanasana, standing forward bend. If it feels downright necessary or just better to bend the knees, then bend the knees. And if it feels available and preferable, straighten the legs.
Let the back of the neck release. So really look back toward your own shins or back through between your shins. Shoulders away from the ears so the neck can be long and free. And shoulder blades away from one another, toward the elbows. Again, so the area around the neck is expansive and not contracting. Put a bend in the knees, bring your hands to your hips. Strong belly, pull the chest forward, and come up to standing.
And we'll do warrior number 2, Veer Vajrasana. I have to move this little potato. Come here, honey. There you go. So for warrior number 2, that was fruitful. Bring your feet pretty wide apart. Sort of a traditional teaching is that the ankles are under the wrist. It depends a little how long your arms are and how long your legs are, of course. Turn your left toes a little bit in and your right toes out to the right. Hands on the hips. Bring the hands behind your head. Swing the elbows a little forward. Biceps toward the shoulders, triceps toward the elbows. Bring the navel in, pit of the throat back, and just gently press your head back. You want to feel like the whole back of your body is a sponge and the front of your body is the water being sort of soaked back. So there is a feeling of absorbing yourself. Extend the arms out wide and bending in the right knee. And keep this feeling of drawing back into yourself. With the left foot, express from the arch of the foot toward the toes. With the right foot, pull from the arch toward the heel. Inhale and come up. Release the hands. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. Hands behind the head. Just gently secure the head back into the hands, pit of the throat back, navel back. Extend the arms out. And stay back in yourself as you bend in the left knee. Extend from the arch of the right foot toward the tips of the toes and from the arch of the left foot toward the heel. Inhale, straighten the leg, release the arms. Parshva Konasana, turn the left toes in, right toes out. If you like to use a block for this pose, get yourself a block. Also, you can always put your forearm on the knee for a prop-free variation. Extend the arms out. Imagine now you have the hands behind your head. Just do it with your imagination and use that to snug back in. Throat back, navel back, frontal thighs back, bend in the right knee. Reach out with your right arm and either bring your forearm to your knee or your hand to a block, your choice. Stretch the left arm overhead. Activate from the left arch toward the tiptoes and the right arch toward the heel. Shoulders away from the ears. And examine your capacity to work at the pose both physically and with your attention. And feel that the work is not depleting. Inhale, come back up, release. Switch the feet, turn the right toes in, left toes out. Inhale the arms out. Imagine the hands behind your head. Full breath in, exhale, bend in the left knee. Either left forearm to left knee or left hand to the block, right arm overhead. Activate from the arch of the right foot toward the toes, from the arch of the left foot toward the heel. Draw the navel in, and inside the body, take the momentum of the navel toward the heart. Tricep toward the fingertips, bicep toward the shoulders. Shoulders away from the ears so the neck can be long. Inhale, press up, release the arms. Keep the wide stance, turn both feet forward. Prasarita Padottanasana will be just the first phase of the pose. Start with your hands on your hips and give yourself sort of a sassy little push down through the hips and draw the belly in and up, lift the chest. And then hinging forward, and you can bring your hands to your shins or to a block or to the floor. But what you want to feel is a sense that you are not rounding in the back. So if coming all the way to the floor has made you round your back to get there, it's not a price worth paying. Bring yourself a little higher. Put a slight bend in the knees and just gently encourage the inner knees apart and straighten the legs by moving the outer knees back. Let the inner knees follow. Draw the navel into the body so that you aren't dropping the abdomen or the lower spine. Move the shoulders away from the ears so the neck can be long. Strong and steady in the legs. Engage from the arches, energize from the arches toward the toes to help activate the quadricep muscles and the knees. And then bring your hands to your hips, push through the legs and come up. And then one big step, step back to Tadasana. Arms long at your sides, be standing, still and steady. Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. Again, a wide stance. Turn the right toes out, left toes in. Both legs are straight. Hands behind the head, just gently swing the elbows forward and press the head back so that you feel the throat and the abdomen and the top of the femurs just gently stabilize back into the body. So you aren't losing energy out the front of the body. Extend the arms out wide. And then let the hips swing to the left as you stretch out the right arm. Bring that right hand down, left arm up. Keep encouraging the shoulders away from the ears. Activate from the left arch toward the toes, from the right arch toward the heel. If it's comfortable, you can look up, but that is really a little, nearly a decorative element. So if it doesn't feel good for your neck, don't press your luck. Keep the top arm strong, so it's not a burden, but it is an asset. Inhale, push back up, reverse the feet. Left toes in, right toes out. Full breath in and exhale. Swing hips to the right. Bring the left hand to the left leg, right arm up. Shoulders down. Right arch to right toe tips. Left arch to left heel. Shoulders away from the ears. And if it's available, feeling, you can look up. And remember that we want it to be that the energy we're putting into the pose redoubles and comes back to us. So we're building our own prana, or building our own energy and sense of vitality through the effort we make, and not feeling like the effort we're making is causing us to be drained of energy. So we have to manage that. Not burn out, but mitigate or sustain our energy. Inhale, come back up, left toes forward, bring the arms down. Next we'll do Ardha half moon pose. So you may want to have a block for this. A lot of people like to use a block. Balancing pose, it's fine to put your hand on the floor, just a little further to reach, obviously, and you also put your hand on something higher than a block, a chair or whatever kind of object you've got around. Have your right toes turned out. The setup is just the same as Trikonasana, left toes in. Inhale, your arms out wide. Now swing the hips to the left, reach out with the right arm. Turn and look down toward the floor. Bend your right knee, hop the left foot in a little closer, and bring your right hand to the block. And the block should be not in line with your right foot, but a little further out to the right and further out in front of you. Move slowly. Shift your weight into your right hand and right foot so the left toes are just grazing the floor. Straighten the right leg. Raise the left leg. Looking down is quite stabilizing. If you can turn, rotate the trunk to look forward. If you can straighten the top arm. From the arch of your standing foot, activate toward the tips of the toes. From the arch of the lifted foot, activate in both directions, toward the heel and toward the toes. Press through the right arm so it's strong, and reach through the left arm so it's strong. Look back down at the floor, bend the right knee, reach your left leg back, come back through triangle pose, and push yourself up. Good. Release, and we'll switch sides. It's not denying the effort of the standing poses, because standing poses are meant to bring effort, to possess and summon from us an enthusiasm or a willingness for effort. So it's not that we're trying to sort of not be with the experience. We're very much trying to be with the experience of the intensity and the effort, but not to be defeated by it or drained by it, but to feel, in fact, that we have it in us to rise to the occasion, to exert, and to also maintain a sense of composure through exertion, and not to have exertion be a sort of like Hail Mary, throw ourselves into it and hope for the best, or sort of quickly become desperate and depleted by it. So that we're just looking for those lines inside ourselves, and of course it's different on different days, and it's different in different poses. Inhale, extend your arms out wide. Shift your hips to the left, to the right, reach out with your left arm. Left hand down. Turn toward the floor, bend the left knee, hop your right foot in a little closer, and again the left hand, whether it's on the floor or the block, should be out in front and a little further back to the left. Shift all your weight in the left hand and the left leg, so the right toes are just grazing the floor. Firm the musculature around your right leg, and then lift the right leg, straighten the left leg. If you can turn away from the floor, then do so. The arch of the left foot energizes towards the toes. Helps you straighten that little stinker. And the arch of the right foot energizes in both directions. Back toward the heel to get the hamstrings involved, and forward toward the toes to get the quadriceps involved. And if you can, straighten the top arm. Arms are active contributors. They are not sapping energy. They're not drains on the system. Push through the bottom arm. Reach through the top arm. Good. Look down. Bend the left leg. Come back through. Triangle pose. And come up to standing. Step the feet together. And come to downward facing dog. Hands at least shoulder width apart on your mat, feet at least hip width apart. Lift the hips nice and high.
smooth, steady breaths. Appreciate having 4 points of contact with the floor after the added effort, the balancing pose. Move the shoulder blades slightly away from one another, so again the space between the shoulder blades, the spine between the shoulder blades isn't compressed or crowded. From the armpits, press toward the hands, and from the armpits, lift toward the hips. Good, and then walk the hands and feet toward one another, and come up to standing. Take a few breaths in Dandasana. Arms long at your sides. Feel steady. Let the breath feel smooth, not choppy. We'll do warrior number 1 and then warrior number 3. You knew they were coming. Here they are. Step the feet wide apart. Turn the left toes in, right toes out. And here in this pose, you'll turn to face toward the right foot. Have your hands on your hips at first and pull the inner thighs toward one another so you feel sort of an effort of squaring come into the hips. The hips won't become fully squared, but they can have that intention or that direction. Now bring the hands behind your head, interlace your fingers, elbows forward like we did before. Press your head gently back into the hands. In Warrior 1 especially, there is such a tendency to lean forward, so draw your biceps towards your shoulders, emphasize that action. Pit of the throat back, navel back, straighten the back leg. In particular, bring the right ribs back and let the left ribs travel forward. Now keep your hands behind your head. Keep gently pressing the head back into the hands as you bend the knee, the right knee. Feel the right knee, right inner knee is trying to reach forward, go out into the world, and the navel is resisting back, and the left leg is really reaching back. It's like a dramatic scene from some romance tragedy. There goes the right knee off into the world, and the left knee is saying, like, don't go. Keep reaching back through the left leg, and then extend your arms straight up alongside the ears, biceps toward the shoulders, triceps toward the fingertips. Inhale and come up, and then release. Turn the right toes in, left toes out. Turn to face toward the left leg. Hands on the hips. Tack the inner thighs towards one another. When you do that, often the back knee wants to bend and kind of loses its conviction. So double down on that back leg. Hands behind the head. Gently draw the head back into the hands. Biceps toward the shoulders. Pit of the throat back. Navel back. And then bend. Keep pressing your head gently back, stabilizing your head back as you bend in the left knee. Bring the left ribs a little bit more back and the right ribs around and forward. And feel that that left inner knee is ready to go off into the world, the kid going off to college, ready to explore, and the back leg is reaching back, pulling back, braking. So there is a gas pedal and a brakes, and the result of that ideally is that the energy is stabilized and not depleted. Extend the arms up straight. Feel that the energy and attention you put into the pose is actually nourishing and revitalizing. Inhale, come up, and then release. Big step Big step. Step the feet together. Take a breath or two in Tadasana. And then warrior number 3. Such a doozy, a stinker of a pose, but also a great pose. And we have the opportunity and even a responsibility to work within our own limits. So you can do the same thing with keeping the hands behind your head instead of extending the arms overhead. That does make a big difference. And also you can do arms out wide like an airplane. That's actually a great version for this pose. And of course you can keep hands on the hips. So you can learn how to work with the intensity of the pose, and just like when you're putting hot sauce on your meal, you get it as hot as you like it, so it's engaging and holds your attention, isn't bland, and isn't, so fiery it's not fun to eat. So that's exactly what we're looking for also in our asana practice. Feet wide apart. Turn the righties out, lefties in. Turn to face toward the right foot. Pull the inner thighs towards one another. Hands behind the head. Biceps toward the shoulders. Pit of the throat back. Navel back. And in particular, really move the left ribs around and forward. Bend in the right knee. Come up onto the ball of the left foot and start to lean forward. And here in particular, push the back of your head into your hands gently. Hop the left foot in even closer. Firm the musculature around your left foot. Push the back of the head into your hands. And as you straighten the right leg and lift the left leg, keep pushing your head back into the hands. So actually what this is doing is helping you use the muscles of your back and stimulate a sense of lifting rather than sinking in the pose. Imagine your left hamstrings have some interlaced hands behind them that you can push into. And then extend the arms out straight alongside the ears. Veer Vajrasana, warrior number 3. Express from this arch of your right foot towards the tippy toes. Bend the right knee, reach back through warrior 1. Come up and release. 1 down, 1 to go. Turn the left toes out, right toes in. Hands behind the head. Just gently draw the throat back, biceps toward the shoulders, navel back. Bend in the left knee, lean forward, hop the right foot in. Gently press the back of the head into the hands so it's stabilizing you. Prevents you from dropping the head, dropping the chest. Shift forward and just keep gently pressing the head into the hands as you lift the right leg and straighten the left leg. Even you can use your hands to create a little traction and draw the head forward. Navel in and toward the heart. And then if it's available, extend the arms out alongside you. Imagine that the right knee has little interlaced hands behind it that it can push into. Especially lift the inner right knee. Move from the arch of the left foot toward the toes. And then back into warrior 1. Straighten the leg. Release. Big step, step the feet together. Be standing in Tadasana. You can feel the energy of that pose. You can feel maybe your heart is working, maybe the breath is accelerated a little, or even just you can feel the muscles have woken up. Prasarita Padottanasana again. Step the feet pretty wide apart. You know, sometimes like at a family dinner, there's a teenager there, and they're not that interested in the conversation. They're kind of looking at their phone or just kind of picking at their nails or whatever. And then something in the conversation switches and it's of interest to the teenager, and they light up and suddenly they have things to say and their youthful animation comes to life. This is what we're trying to do for ourselves, is pull ourselves, our full selves, into the conversation. A pose like Warrior 3 isn't like, something people don't usually come to class and say, please can we work on Warrior 3 today? Because we just know it's going to be hard. But it also, you can feel it brought your whole self into the conversation. No one at the table was absent for that conversation because it really requires all hands on deck. So we can see that actually as not a burden, although there's work involved, it's actually also a joyful thing to really feel our whole selves present and engaged cooperatively. Hands on the hips, draw your navel slightly in, up, inside the body toward the heart. So it's helping to fill and lift the chest from within. Big breath in and exhale, hinging forward. Either hands to the legs, hands to a block, or hands to the floor. Now you can stay here where the spine is not rounded. Draw the navel toward the lumbar spine rather than dropping the belly. Move the shoulders away from the ears. Second variation, if your body's up for it, is to move the hands back in line with the feet, fingers pointing forward. Bend the elbows and bring the crown of the head to or toward the floor. Shoulders up away from the ears. Strong and steady through the legs. Exertion without depletion. Steady the breath. Energize from the arches toward the heels, from the arches toward the tips of the toes. So the whole foot, the whole leg is alive and active. And then straighten the arms. Pull the chest forward, shoulders back so the neck is long. Hands to the hips. Push to the feet and come up. And big step, step the feet together. Arms long at your sides. Good, and come again to downward facing dog. Hands at least shoulder width apart, feet at least hip width apart. And then release the knees to the floor, and we'll come to seated Virasana. So in Virasana, the knees are together and the feet are a little bit apart. And the front of the ankle is elongated. I usually bring my hands to my calves and take the meaty part of my calf and draw it away from the knee and a little bit out and sit down into that space. Many knees will not agree or be agreeable. So again, you could grab a block or something else within reach and sit up on a little height, and that can help a lot. You can sit up on as much height as you need. If bending the knees is really, if this type of flexion is really not agreeable, sit in Dandasana, both legs out straight in front, and be here as an alternative. And those of you who are in Virasana, just for a moment, bring the hands behind the head. You can do this in Dandasana, it's harder though. Swing your elbows a little bit forward. Bring the pit of the throat back, navel back. And then keep that feeling, these just again sort of absorbed back into the self, and let your hands come down to rest on the thighs. Let the eyes close. Draw the navel, whether you're in Dandasana or Virasana, draw the navel and the whole circumference around the navel, in and up from within toward the chest.
it be a quiet and steady moment. All the movement and exertion of the standing poses, all that time being up on your own 2 feet. Now we have a chance to be a little lower, closer to the ground. And just adding a very simple twist. Sit tall inside yourself and twisting to the right. And again, this can be done in Dandasana or Virasana. Bring your left hand to the outside of the right leg and the right hand back behind you for support. Press through the right arm. I even can add a little gentle tug, gentle with the left hand, so you're helping yourself grow and unwind. Imagine that you have a second pair of arms, and those arms are still interlaced behind your head, so that the head doesn't start to drop forward and put its weight down into the chest. Inhale and come back to the center. And exhale and twisting to the left. Right hand to the outside of the left leg, left hand back behind you. Again, the arms are participants. They're helping to nourish the pose, they're helping bring energy in. Press through the left hand to help yourself stay upright. Pull with the gently with the right arm to help ease the right ribs around and into the pose. Inhale, come back to the center. Those of you who've been doing Veer Vajrasana, just take a couple breaths in downward dog to let the legs have a moment of straightness. Those of you who've been in Dandasana, you can do a couple breaths of child's pose. In downward dog, firm the musculature of the knees. Again, from the armpits, send toward the hands and press, and from the armpits, reach toward the hips and lift. Good, and then release down. And coming down onto your back for Shavasana. Dogs are optional. Come down onto your back. Let your feet flop apart. The legs have worked hard, so take a moment to really let the energy of the legs become quiet. The legs are good workers, and it's often hard for them actually to truly disengage. They're sort of, especially the quadriceps in the front of the thighs, they're like type A people who keep checking their email. So we really want to let those muscles release. Let the whole weight of your legs drop into the floor. Arms out alongside your body. Turn the palms up. Relax the jaw. Bring the tongue down away from the roof of the mouth. Let your eyes close. And be in Shavasana. time to stay in Shavasana, then I invite you to stay and continue resting and absorbing the practice. Or you can bend your elbows and bring the hands toward the body. And the knees. And then rolling to your side. Let your head rest on your arm or on a folded blanket. And then use your arms, let the head be the last thing up. Use your arms to gently press and bring yourself up. And come up to sitting. Sit in a way that is comfortable for you. And we'll end with 3 rounds of Om. Namaste. Thank you for practicing with me today, and I hope you feel this sense of being invigorated by your practice and not depleted by it. Thank you.